Great, thanks. Well, thanks, Chris, and thanks to Second Nature. I'm Bob Hinkle, President and CEO of Metrus Energy, and I'm going to talk about the importance of climate-related actions that schools can take on campus. So we can move to the second slide. And higher education really is all about taking things to the next level, and the global fight against climate change requires nothing less. Colleges and universities have a critical role to play in both setting a standard and taking actions that can mitigate climate change. So while thinking globally, schools need to act locally. And this means focusing first on the decarbonization of their own buildings and facilities. So by undertaking energy efficiency upgrades within your own built environment and by implementing on-site clean renewable energy generation, you can accomplish a lot of things. You can increase the efficiency of your facilities where students both live and learn. You can reduce carbon emissions that improve the health on campus and in your local community. And you can save money by lowering utility bills that free up money that can be redirected to the core mission of teaching students and for other pressing projects that come up on campus. Also, the implementation of projects on campus provides some pretty unique learning opportunities for students that get involved in the engineering, financing, and measuring of the impact of sustainable energy investments. Can move to the next slide. And sequencing also matters, and it really needs to start first with implementing all possible energy efficiency upgrades on campus and also on-site renewable energy projects, and in that order. So once that work on campus is done and scope 1 and scope 2 emissions have been reduced, schools can then look to offsetting their remaining energy load by entering into renewable energy supply agreements or virtual PPAs, which are a key piece of the puzzle in fighting climate change and something that's required to get to the path to net zero. But they shouldn't be the first step that they do. They should be the last step after you've implemented the energy efficiency projects and renewable energy projects that you can do on campus, since a lot of projects that are more of the offsite sense are thousands of miles away from where energy is being consumed by and for schools. So on the next slide, you'll also see that acting with speed matters, because waiting to implement projects and funding them only when there's available budget, which can be hard to come by, or by waiting until something breaks, results in lost savings, lost economic gains, and unabated carbon emissions. So what I did here is I put a couple figures out that show the impact on an annual basis of waiting to implement a typical $5 million energy efficiency project. So on the left side, you see the unabated annual carbon emissions for this project, which amount to roughly 9,000 metric tons a year. So for every year that passes that you're not implementing this project, emissions continue to pile up over time. On the right side, you see the correlated economic impact, where you see lost savings on a net present value basis for each year of delay. Now, on this project in year 1, that delay on an NPV basis amounts to about $225,000 of lost opportunity. And this also continues to grow over time as the delay continues. All of this just really highlights that climate change requires urgent action and that delaying projects has real tangible costs. Now, the next slide shows that one way to move forward is to utilize third-party financing, and that can be done through sustainable energy as a service solutions that fund 100% of the upfront cost of a project under a pay-for-performance structure where schools pay on a cost per unit of measured energy savings and a cost per unit of measured renewable energy generation. This can allow schools to act now versus later and to implement longer payback, more complex, comprehensive projects that generate more energy savings and reduce more carbon. Sustainable energy as a service is also unique since it involves the ongoing measurement of environmental performance that's integrated into the actual financing solution. Since energy savings are measured every year, since renewable energy generation is measured every year, that makes it unique in the world of ESG financing, because the environmental performance is on a one-to-one mapping with the financial performance and measurement. Now, the slide also shows some results from Metrus's 2020 impact report, and it includes a carbon count calculation for investments across the country. Carbon count is a simple but very effective metric that shows the efficiency of investments in terms of their annual CO2 reduction per $1,000 of investments. So you see some of the bigger circles here on this slide. those are regions where the electrical grid has a higher carbon content. So you see those bigger ratios, and then you see lower ratios in areas of the country where there's a lower carbon mix. Now, regardless, all these investments are climate positive and generate net reductions in on-site emissions. I'll just close out by saying also that on-site projects can help with the operational resiliency of campuses, and that's becoming more critical. Doing more meaningful projects is taking on more and more importance as rating agencies begin to consider the climate readiness of schools when they're looking at their financial health. So all of this really can just be summed up by saying that the time to act is now. It's urgent. There's a time-bound need, and doing so can make your on-site carbon reductions count.